There are tons and tons of games coming to crowdfunding this year in 2022. Here are 26 that I'm excited about, so buckle up. I'm going to make this video short and sweet because I value your guys' time and I want to keep you guys up to date with all the latest games that are coming. And as always, if anything looks interesting to you, I have links down below. Now let's get right into the video. First on the list, I have Final Girl Season 2. Now this is coming to Kickstarter very soon at the time of this recording. If you're a solo gamer or a horror fan, then this is something you're absolutely gonna love. If you missed out on Season 1, then you might want to check this one out, and now might be the time to get in on this game. There's a lot of good reviews for Season 1, so I highly recommend if you're a solo gamer to check this one out. Another one that's coming out pretty soon is Guardians of Fire. This is an immersive combat exploration game set in a mythical ancient Persia world. This is an RPG dungeon crawl game and there are 6 missions, and after each mission, each player can improve their abilities and get more gifts. Each game is packed with action, fighting. The artwork is amazing with amazing miniatures. What is not to like about this game? I highly recommend to check this one out. Moving on to Soul Mist, this is a pen and paper D20 system world setting game that's coming out fairly soon on Kickstarter. Now this is actually a board game adjacent campaign with a dark fantasy tabletop RPG world setting. At the time of this recording, this game is coming to Kickstarter very soon. So if this sounds interesting to you, I highly recommend to go check it out. Next up, I have Floating Floors. This is actually designed by Meeple University. I highly recommend to go check out the channel if you haven't heard of them already. But this is a technical balanced dueling game where you are playing as ninjas. And you can either play 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2. It plays roughly in 20 to 40 minutes. This one looks like it's a lot of fun and you get to play as ninjas. What's not to enjoy about this one? Now, if you like supporting creators, you gotta check out this next one. Kevin's I Spy book that's coming to Kickstarter in February. This is by Old Man Games and I wanted to give him a quick shout out because I've seen how much work he's put into this and I think this is something a lot of people in the industry would enjoy. I know personally for me, my daughter would really enjoy this because she loves I Spy books. Next up, I have Cyberpunk 2077 Gangs of Night City. This is actually being published by Come On. Players are going to be taking the role of gang leaders and trying to take control of the city. Each game will have different attributes and goals to give each player a different experience. Of course, this is going to be coming after Marvel Zombicide, but I highly recommend if you like the video game to check this one out on Kickstarter coming up this year. Also sticking with the Cyberpunk theme, this is Gaijin. This one looks absolutely amazing by Awakening Realms Light. Some of the key features are a modular city map. There's also going to be a networking map that you have to deal with in the game where you can hack your opponents to unlock special bonuses. There's also going to be different scenarios in this game, making this game highly replayable. If I'm going to be honest, this one looks a lot more interesting than the Come On Cyberpunk game. So keep an eye out for this one. It's supposed to launch on GameFound in February. Moving on to another game I talked about on the channel, that is Iron Forest. It was supposed to launch last year, but due to delays, it is now launching in 2022. It's a flick them up game. I highly recommend check this one out. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, especially if you enjoy the mech theme. Moving on, we have 2 expansions coming out for Viscount of the West Kingdoms. This is Gates of Gold and Keepers of the Key. This is coming to Kickstarter very soon, and if you're a fan of this kind of game, then this is something you gotta pick up. Moving on, we have Solo 175, a dark dystopian legacy game for 1 to 5 players. It has bag building, area control, and worker placement with a sci-fi theme. Solo 175 is set in an ever-expanding solar system with immersive war building. What makes this one different is that it has an innovative end game scoring system which changes based on how the players interact with the game. Again, if you like sci-fi legacy games, this is something you want to get in on. Bedeville Carnival, another horror game over on GameFound. Every player will be playing as an undead character that has risen from the grave. They are trying to take control of an attraction at the carnival, trying to keep the noise down before the grave keeper arrives and sends them back to their grave. Players must perform actions and outsmart their graveyard friends. You must attempt to hold your position in your attraction. This one has an interesting theme, and I'm going to be keeping a close eye when it launches because this is something that looks very interesting. Kingdom Rise and Fall of Dorian. This is a strategy deck building game set in a fantasy world where players are building a deck of combat cards based on their playstyle. Players will have to negotiate, fight using combat cards, and they have to betray each other in order to gain the most influence points to win the game. The game duration is controlled by choosing the number of rounds with the Kingdom event cards. Forgotten Legends, The Warm Empire, a high fantasy game in a magical world where the goal of the game is to defeat the Prince of Despair, the Warm Empire. In order to do this, you need to break 3 magical seals. Players will need to work together or individually to decide where the game should head. Fight epic monsters, there are many different paths to victory, and there is a modular battlefield that's constantly changing throughout the game. This is something I think a lot of people will enjoy, so I highly recommend to check this one out down below. Tales of War. You are playing as army generals in conflict to find the Cross of Eternity. It is an ancient artifact holding the key to immortality. Tales of War has an RPG-like of progress. Gameboard is an open book filled with ever-changing mighty heroes. You must lead your armies of medieval troops and fantasy creatures into battle. There is skill-based combat where players take turns activating one unit at a time. Tales of War does not use cards or dice in combat. Instead, the troops are equipped with certain weapons and defenses, and that will determine who wins the battle. Moving on, I have Age of Rome. Become a new emperor of Rome in this worker placement game set in 44 BC. In this game, you are trying to build different structures in different provinces that are assigned to you. You must balance war, politics, and trade while you scheme against your rival players. You can earn glory points in various different ways in this game. The player with the most amount of points at the end of the game will become the new emperor of Rome. Ravaged Star, Vile Touch. This one is for all you miniature lovers who love sci-fi. This is something that you gotta pick up. Each one of these miniatures have their own lore behind them, but you can mix them up and add them to any tabletop game as you wish. Check this one out if you're into sci-fi miniatures. It's going to be launching on GameFound very soon. Jurassic World, The Legacy of Isla Nublar. This is going to be a legacy game where you play throughout 12 adventures in which you can customize an entire unique game board and breed new dinosaurs that you cannot unmake. Your team's choices will have a lasting impact, create your own story, and have fun. Moving on, I have Edgeguard. This is another story-driven tabletop role-playing game that has immersive mechanics. This one looks interesting, although I don't know very much about this game, but I wanted to include it on the list for anyone that was interested in story-driven games. Ahau, Rulers of Yucatan. A Euro-style strategy game with dual engine building and worker placement elements. It has immersive gameplay that is inspired by the Mayan culture. Next up, I have Clash of Armies, a medieval head-to-head deck builder where you are trying to defeat your opponent. Each player only starts with a few resources and shoulders, and the game has a main marketplace where during the game you can buy as many cards as you can, attempting to build the most powerful deck. This is a standard easy deck builder, so if this sounds interesting to you, check it out down below. Kingoms of Akandia Volume 1, The Seven Realms, a co-op open world tabletop game where you can upgrade your heroes with a 4-piece puzzle-like system. Super customizable and discover a new world and your destiny in this Kingdom of Akandia. This is Aldarra Reborn. This is a game where you need to gather resources, build armies, make discoveries, wage epic battles, and use airships to control the opposite fleet on a mission of exploration and conquest. This game looks amazing with its artwork and has very cool airship miniatures. I highly recommend to go check this one out as it has plenty of followers already on Kickstarter. Next up, I have Pest. This is a 7-round game where players take on the role of leaders of a ruling house of a great empire that was struck by a plague that left the empire in ruins. It is now time for the players to restore it to its former glory. This one looks really interesting. I love the box artwork, so I'm looking forward to this one when it launches later this year. Now, of course, we have Slay the Spire, hopefully coming out in 2022. This one looks like it's going to be a really good deck builder that's based off the video game. Let's just hope it lives up to the hype because I'm really looking forward to this one. Now moving on to another deck builder, Feralis, Obscure Lands. Now this is a 2 or 4 player deck building game. Players have a deck of creatures, and your main resource in this game is time. You can support your creatures using your godlike skills and power events that need time to get ready. These powers will change the course of the battle, so make sure you choose them wisely. And remember to have no mercy because your opponent will not. This one sounds like it's going to be a brutal battling deck building game. So speaking of deck building games, I actually have a huge announcement for this last game. It's a game that I've been personally working on for a really long time. This is War Among the Gods, Battle for Olympus. This is a Greek mythology deck building game for 1 to 6 players. Personally for me, I really hope to bring this to Kickstarter by the end of the year. I've been playtesting a lot with family and friends, and with a few more tweaks and adjustment to the rulebook, this game is going to be ready for playtesting for anyone that's interested in trying it out. I really hope to talk more about this game in the near future. If this sounds interesting to you, then I'll have links down below where you can learn more about this game. I hope you guys enjoyed the list and discovered a new game that's coming out this year that might interest you. If you want to learn about 10 more games that are coming out this year, check out this video right here, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.